In this video, we want to look at the contribution of Tannenbaum and Schmidt to our understanding of leadership. Now, they put forward their model in 1957. The model expressed different methods a leader can adopt in order to interact with their followers. For example, a way in which a manager may interact with operators and line managers within an organization. The model displays a range of leadership approaches, from leadership possessing full control to entrusting complete control to the employees or team members. So it ranges right across a spectrum from full control at one extreme to almost no control, almost minimal control at the other end, where the workers have a large say in what is done and how the process is developed and the work routines and so on. So it can range from almost complete leadership to almost no leadership, and that's the spectrum. And Tannenbaum and Schmidt laid this out in very clear terms and showed how the spectrum could be classified. So, approaches to employee development. Well, the model displays leadership approaches. This is useful for encouraging employee involvement. It's useful when we look at the model to judge where an organization is on the spectrum. So it gives us almost a measuring gauge of leadership to see what sort of leadership and where an organization fits on that spectrum. We'll see how it works in a few moments. If employees are entrusted with control over decision making and take part in projects and teams, this will lead to a more motivated workforce. So on the one hand, the more delegation there is, and the more trust there is, then the employees will feel more motivated, more involved, will be keener to apply themselves harder and ensure good quality and good productivity. Management as leaders should ensure that there are initiatives in place to facilitate employee involvement. So management should involve the employees. Employees should be trusted to make a good contribution and a well thought out contribution. The employees need the employment. It's what generates an income for them, which enables them to survive in life. So clearly the employees have a vested interest in the organization, and management are simply trusting the employees to make good decisions which will further the organization and give them more job security and perhaps higher salaries. So the spectrum I talked about earlier, well, it ranges from autocratic, that's the employees are not consulted at all. Autocratic means the management say exactly what's required and specify exactly what's required. To the other extreme, which is free rein, it's the employees determining what is required. The management almost staying out of it. The management not getting involved in the day-to-day functioning of the organization, leaving it to the employees to sort out. So it runs all the way across from one extreme, from the autocratic, to no involvement by management, the free rein one, and the operators and the employees making the decisions and sorting things out for themselves. So we can envisage this spectrum, as I said. If we look at the hypotenuse on this little triangle, or the diagonal, or whatever you want to call it, we can see that as we move from left to right, the authority of the employees becomes larger. The employees, the free rein end, becomes more significant. As we move from right to left, the autocratic becomes all important. So we have this this line of authority that runs through the little rectangle we've got here. So this diagonal, or hypotenuse, whatever you want to call it, this diagonal, it shows complete autocratic behavior by the management on the bottom left, and on the top right, total control by the employees. And there's a range in between where there's a mixture of both. So we can identify the types of decision making that goes on at different points along this line. For example, managers make decisions and announces. And that's quite close to the left hand side. So the managers are more in control here. The managers making the decisions and tell the operators what needs to be done. Next, the manager sells the decision. The manager makes a decision but then explains the decision to the employees and gets them to understand it and agree with it. So there's more consultation involved. You can see there's more involvement by the operators at this point than at the previous point. The previous point, management was stronger. Here, management are slightly weaker. Just if you look at the line above it, you can see the managers are getting weaker. So the manager needs to explain the decision to the employees. Next, the manager presents ideas and invites suggestions. You see it's weaker again. The management has become weaker. It's not telling the employees what needs to be done. It's giving them ideas and asking them for their opinions. Next along the line we have the manager presents some tentative suggestions which could be changed. Weaker again. So management, as we move from left to right, management is getting weaker and the employees are getting stronger. Now that's not a bad thing. It depends on the nature of the organization. It depends on the style of management. It depends on the quality of the employees and the motivation of the employees. So it could be a good thing. But in terms of how the management are managing, you can see that they've moved from making strong decisions and announcing to the workforce this will happen, point one. Next, selling the idea, making some decision and then explaining it. The fact that they need to explain it means that they have become weaker. Next along the line, they present their ideas and invite suggestions. Weaker again. Next, and the one we've got the last one here, is the manager presents tentative decisions. Tentative, could be changed. Just ideas, just feelings that the management have got, an idea they've got, and it could be changed. So it's become very tentative. The employees are getting stronger. Next, the manager presents problems and gets suggestions and makes decisions. So the next one along, they don't even come with ideas. The management now are just identifying problems and asking for suggestions. And then the manager defines limits and asks groups to make decisions. The management say, well, subject to, don't get involved in this and don't do that, but otherwise see if you can sort it out yourselves. So the manager is not making the decision. The manager is asking the employees to make the decision. And then we've got the manager permits subordinates to function within limits defined by a superior. So finally, the manager has given up almost. The manager now says to the employees, sort out the problems for yourselves. Just don't encroach on some other area, or don't get involved in certain things, but otherwise sort it out for yourselves. So we can see here from these set of points that management has become increasingly disengaged as we move from left to right. The managers are giving up more and more power to the workers to make decisions. Um, Referring to the model, Tannenbaum and Schmidt identify 7 different approaches to leadership and power and control. There are 7. And if you look along the bottom here, we've got 2, 4, 6, and 1 is 7. So we've got the 7 points listed along the bottom, and these are the points that have been identified by the Tannenbaum and Schmidt model. The spectrum illustrates how management control can shift from an autocratic leadership style to an employee-centered leadership style. So the employees become more involved in management and in decision making. The model's 7 different approaches have been illustrated as tell, sell, test, consult, join, delegate, and abdicate. And thus, running across what we've just had, we started with tell. The autocratic one was the management tells the operators what to do. It's not negotiable. There's no discussion. It just tell the operators what to do. And then we moved all the way across until finally we get to abdicate. The management abdicates responsibility. It gives up responsibility to the employees who make the decisions. Now, let's look at the leader tells. This is the autocratic one. The autocratic style leadership approach. Well, the leader instructs the employee teams to follow orders. And the employees do that. The employees follow the orders. So the leader instructs and the employees follow. It's not favoured in most working environments. Most working environments have the employees involved in some way. It may be that the employees consult about processes and come up with ideas. They may be a valuable source of ideas for product development or process development. So, generally speaking, the autocratic style is not a preferred approach and doesn't often get serious consideration in management literature. The approach is common and needed in situations where employees are inexperienced or require on-the-job training. So with a new workforce, there's more autocratic decision making. And the new workforce need to be instructed and guided and told what to do. But once they've picked up the skills and once they have acculturated to the business, then generally speaking, this style of leadership is not applied. There's more trust in the employees. As the employees gain momentum, commitment and cohesion this approach becomes less appropriate. So as I said, as the employees gain momentum, as the employees become more involved with the tasks, more fluent in the day-to-day working of the tasks, they have more commitment, they understand the tasks more, there's more cohesion within the workforce. So the autocratic style is less appropriate. The leader sells the idea. This was the next point along when we looked at the scale earlier. The leader still remains in control. However, there's a need to involve employees and teams in the decision-making process. So there is more involvement of the teams. There's more consultation. For example, a manager may say, "This is the problem I have encountered. I would like you to, because of something else. I would like you to look at this because that." So there's more getting the employees on board, more involvement of the employees, more explanation. This approach directly involves employees as they have to understand the business process and why they're taking certain tasks. So they understand the business process. The employees have been working for the company perhaps for some time. They know the company, they know what it's trying to do, they know the products, they know the processes, and they know why they're undertaking particular tasks. So they know what needs to be done. Perhaps the management just needs to put more priority on it and ask the workers to make some changes more immediately, perhaps, than leave them to some future date. It's selling the idea, it's working with them. The leader tests. This type of leadership approach begins to include employee teams in the decision-making process. So it's more consultative. It involves the employees, it involves talking to the employees, getting their ideas, their opinions. It's more working together. The leader may say, this is the problem I face, I would like to do the following, however, what do you think? So the employer is asking for employees' opinions. What do you think? Would this be the best way, or can you think of something? It offers employee incentives to take part in decision making. It could be the employees are rewarded for taking part in the decision making if it's successful, or it could be simply that they are recognized by the management as important and they enjoy the status of being recognized and feeling important. The employees are free to offer suggestions or just follow orders from their leader or manager. So the employees are free to offer suggestions if they want, if not, just follow what the manager says. It's a more relaxed approach. The employees may come up with ideas and may speak at any time and make suggestions, and they are guaranteed to be heard and considered. It's a more cooperative atmosphere. The next one is the leader consults. The role of a leader is becoming more cooperative and more consultative. As we move across that spectrum, the one earlier, the leader is becoming more cooperative. The leader will say, this is the problem we face, and what are your thoughts on resolving the situation? This is the problem we face, not the problem I face, the problem we face. It's more consultative, more cooperative. We're all in it together. This is the problem. How do we solve it? We have a problem. So here it's not a divide. It's not management and employees. It's everyone together. So the leader manager invites employee teams to participate in the decision-making process. By using we, the organisation and employees are seen as a team which work together to solve problems. There is an active role in employee involvement. So it's more collaborative. The leader joins. Well, the leader begins to hand over the problem. Employee teams are encouraged to consider the problem and find a solution. So here the management is starting to hand over the problem. There is a problem of some sort within the business. They hand it over to the employees to sort it out, to try and fix it, to try and find a solution. The leader may say, what is the problem? How do we approach it? Any solutions? So it's different from the past, from the more autocratic style. In the more autocratic style, the leader says, this is what I want done. There was no explanation as to what the problem was or what the rationale behind the decision. This is what I want done. I want it done within the next 2 days or whatever. So it was much more autocratic. In this case, the leader is saying, what is the problem? Do we have, how do we approach it? Do we have a solution? Anyone any suggestions? This stage gives employees the ownership to find solutions and resolve problems. The aim is to involve employees and allow them to make decisions. So management has handed over part of the management process to the employees. The employees look for problems and solve the problems. The leader delegates. The approach is to delegate authority to employee teams. The leader will make the end decision. However, the employees are in charge of finding solutions to problems and taking responsibility and accountability. So the employees identify problems and find solutions, and then approach the management and say, this was the problem, this is the solution, and the management approve or disapprove. But really it's the employees who are running the business on a day-to-day basis. The employees are looking at the processes, looking at the way the job is done, looking at the routines, looking at the way the organization is constructed and structured, and making suggestions. The employees have more power in the decision-making process and may influence the final outcome. The management may agree that there was a problem. Perhaps the management hadn't seen the problem, and the management may agree with the solution. But the management haven't identified the problem, and the management have not come up with the solution. It's the employees who have done it. The leader displays more trust in the employees and their decisions. It's much more more trustworthy. This one, the management look to the employees and trust the employees to identify problems and solve the problems. Now the leader abdicates. Well, this is a laissez-faire approach. The employees are given full control over decision making. In a sense, there is no management. It's the employees who look at the organization, look at the problems, look at the issues, resolve the problems. They don't have to consult management. They just fix the problems. It's a complete abrogation by the leader. The leader gives up all the authority to the employees. Employee teams are entrusted with the authority for identifying, analysing and resolving problems. However, the leader is accountable. Clearly there is a management still in place, and the management must accept responsibility for the decisions that the employees take. But as far as decision making goes, it's the operators who make the decisions and decide on the best course of action. It has to be simply authorized by the final management. In this type of approach, the leader will say, sort out any problems, contact me if you need to. So it's a complete abrogation. So what the Tannenbaum and Schmidt model does is it highlights the spectrum ranging from complete control by management to almost no control by management. And of course, as management give up power, the employees gain power. And what the model attempts to do is to talk about the issues that arise in between the two extremes. When management is shedding power and employees are picking it up, what is the change in the organization? What's the change in culture? What are the issues associated with the change? And to make the spectrum easier, they identified 7 key points, 7 areas along the line. And these are the ones that we should be familiar with. That's all we're going to deal with in this video, so let's leave it at that and say thank you for watching.